Okay, so if you're building an AI right now, you already know what's up. This is not just another tech wave. It feels more like a gold rush and a minefield at the exact same time. So let's just get real for a few minutes about what it's actually going to take to survive and, hopefully win in this market.
Right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off with the one number that should honestly keep every single one of us up at night. 90%. That is the estimated failure rate for AI startups. That's way higher than the rest of tech. So this whole conversation is about one thing: how we build to make sure we're in the other 10%.
You know, this quote right here, it just nails the complete paradox that we're all living through. We are seeing absolutely historic amounts of cash getting poured into AI, but at the same time, companies are just dropping like flies. It's like a tale of two completely different markets happening all at once.
And this is that split, plain and simple. On one side, you've got this funding tsunami, and it's driven by pure, uncut investor FOMO. And on the other side, the culling fields, just this brutal, accelerating wave of failures. And here's the craziest part. That tsunami of cash, it's actually causing the culling.
I mean, just look at these numbers for a second. Global VC funding in AI basically skyrocketed 80% year over year, hitting $100 billion. Our little corner of the world captured nearly a third of all venture money on the planet. This isn't a trend, people. It's a fire hose of capital, and it is aimed directly at us. But here's the trap, right? This fire hose of cash, it creates this insane pressure. It pushes this growth at all costs mindset. So you take on a massive valuation and suddenly the clock is ticking, you're burning cash like there's no tomorrow, and you completely neglect the fundamentals. And you end up looking just like the companies we're about to talk about. In this environment, the money itself can actually be the poison.
So let's actually look at some of the companies that didn't make it. And these aren't just failures, okay? These are the cautionary tales we absolutely have to learn from if we don't want to join them.
First up, Olive AI. You might remember them, a healthcare unicorn, valued at $4 billion. They raised over $850 million to automate hospital admin work. And then, well, they just imploded. Literally collapsed under the weight of all that funding and promises that they just could not keep.
And then you've got Builder.ai. Wow, this was an even more spectacular flameout. They raised $500 million from some of the best VCs out there, and the pitch? It was great. Build software as easily as ordering a pizza. But the reality? Well, it turned into allegations of massive fraud and what people call AI washing. Basically, using hundreds of human engineers in the background to do the work their AI was supposed to be doing.
And of course, Ghost Autonomy. They burned through $220 million trying to build a mass-market self-driving system. Now, this is a classic story. It's a super capital-intensive hardware play, and when investor excitement for self-driving started to cool off, the money just dried up. And so did they.
I mean, this table just puts it all in perspective. You're looking at the sheer scale of capital destruction here. Billions of dollars that just vaporized. And look, it's across totally different sectors. Healthcare, enterprise software, media. It proves that no corner of the AI world is safe if your fundamentals just aren't there.
Okay, so we've seen who failed. Now we get to the most important part, why they failed. We're going to break down the 6 core ways these companies die. And I want you to think of this as a diagnostic kit for your own startup.
And we have to start with this brand new, totally existential threat that is completely unique to our time, the foundational Model Guillotine. It's a dramatic name, but it's real. This is what happens when a giant like OpenAI or Google or Meta drops one little update that makes your entire product completely useless overnight. If you were just building a thin wrapper on their API, you were always one press release away from total extinction.
So think of this matrix as your checkup. These are the 6 main ways an AI company can die: market, product, execution, financial, competitive, and regulatory. I really want you to look at this and be brutally honest with yourself. Where's your company most vulnerable?
So let's make this super concrete. Market failure? That was Artifact, that news app from the Instagram founders. Cool tech, just no real market need. Product failure? Classic Olive AI. Their tech was what we call confidently wrong, and it created a verification tax where customers had to double-check everything. Execution failure? That's Builder.ai's alleged fraud and insane burn rate. And competitive failure? DataGen got hit squarely by that guillotine we just talked about.
And hey, speaking of product failure, get a load of this number. A recent study from MIT found that 95% of enterprise GenAI pilots failed to produce any measurable ROI. 95%.
That tells you loud and clear that most of what's being built and sold right now simply doesn't work well enough to justify what it costs.
Okay, so that was the diagnosis. And look, I know it's pretty grim, but we're founders, right? We solve problems. That's what we do. So, enough with the doom and gloom. Let's get into the practical, actionable stuff. This is the Founder's Survival Guide. This is how we actually make it.
So the big question is, how do we survive this shakeout? How do we build something that's going to last, that's going to be here long after the hype cycle has moved on? Well, it really just comes down to a clear, disciplined playbook.
And here it is. It's really just 4 pillars for building a resilient AI business. Number 1, you've got to build real defensible moats. 2, embrace capital efficiency. 3, solve a real, honest-to-God, hair-on-fire problem. And 4, design for trust and transparency from the ground up. Let's break each one down.
First up, moats. And let's be crystal clear about this. Your algorithm is not a moat anymore. It's just not. The guillotine can wipe that out in a heartbeat. Your real moats are the things the big guys can't just easily copy. Proprietary data that you've painstakingly curated, distribution channels that you own, and getting so deeply integrated into a customer's workflow that they can't imagine ripping you out.
Second, capital efficiency. Look, the party is over. That growth at all costs model that absolutely killed all of AI, it's dead. We have to be focused on strong unit economics from day one. You have to be able to prove that you can actually make money on every single customer. And you have to resist that temptation to scale before you have undeniable product market fit.
This right here might be the most fundamental rule of all. It's so easy for us to fall in love with our cool tech, but customers don't buy cool tech. They buy solutions to their most painful, most urgent problems. So you have to ask yourself, are you selling a vitamin or are you selling a painkiller? Because in this market, only the painkillers are going to get a budget.
Ultimately, this is what it all comes down to. The market is maturing, like right before our eyes. The era of the hype artist is ending, and the era of the pragmatist is beginning. It's not about who has the most mind-blowing demo anymore. It's about who can create real, verifiable, and sustainable value. And that leaves every single one of us with this final, crucial question. I want you to really look at your own company, your own idea, and be honest. Are you just building a thin wrapper, a feature that's just waiting to get killed by the next platform update? Or are you building a truly lasting enterprise? Because the answer to that question is what will determine if you end up in the 90% or in the 10%.